like to have a bit of life there. If you are a member of the crew, we're more than happy to show you. Our arrival time at Moore Reef will be shortly after 12 o'clock. During the cruise, we'll have the bar open on the lower deck for cold refreshment. Relax and enjoy the crossing.面白い。すごい。もう一回。お腹空いてるみんな。No, もっと近く。ちょっと待って。ちょっと待って。
Oh, I feed off the window in this. Ready? Yeah.
Giant clam.
Giant clam. Oh, yeah.
If you
Can wait a little bit. Wait. Change the time.
one time.
いや、もう一回。あれ何？怖いでしょあれ？
あ、すごい魚。
じゃあ、あげて早く。
あれ食べないのカマスは。
食べる。逃げた。あー。
One time?
Yes, please. 기대. Just yes, one more. Ready.
Be careful. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Kawaii nhé.
That's my storybook book, man.
Like the aquarium, eh? Aquarium.
Pretty.
Beautiful.
Uh-huh. But you and with the fish.
Yes. Nice.
This seems to be a different one than what was being attracted to.
We fed him some bread.
Did you?
Well, like you don't eat it?
Eat palm.
No, not fun.
Well, you know, I had one of them.
Something, take
Yeah,
a chunk out
yeah.
of it. Take a little bite out of it.
Torero?
Okay.
These guys, there's some bigger ones. Than
Yeah.
Yeah. So you took some bread down?
So, yeah.
Yes, it definitely was. If you let yourself stop, you need to go that way. Out. And yes, and that kind of bothered me. So it's constantly. Yeah.
No, because that's... Yeah, we swam against current most of the time when we were down there.
Their baggage, and as the normal security procedures would allow, we've had to...
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to point out to you the safety features of this.
landing in hospital.
Feet, climbing their pack, pressing
In preparation for landing, please ensure your seatbelts are fastened. Now time to bring your chair back upright, lock your tray table into position. Please return any used cabin baggage to an overhead locker or push it under the seat in front of you. For your located in the baggage, this desk is also
llegando a Brisbane. Maybe like that. This is the lake? No.
No, that's the river.
River.
Brisbane River.
Brisbane River. In winter time, how cold it is?
Oh, not so cold. Maybe 6 degrees Celsius,
Yeah.
but no snow.
No snow.
No. Too far north.
Uh,
You heard for snow in winter, and in summertime, no snow. I
アでしょ。
Apricots preserved in jars.
ブリスベン。
That's my home. Land of oceans in the sun. Land of oceans in the sun.
Hacienda por
Purple
Brisbane.
hazes river gone. Breaks your heart when rain won't come. It breaks your heart. Big galvanized roofs and orcs in the wind out back. Here I am at the Isl. Share their money on the flag. There's so much more to be understood before coming out here knowing the Isl. Through the Leichhardt East where Fool's Gold flashes, Fossick around for Maltese crosses, lock them off to the tourist buses, see ghost scum.
We're making our way to our day tour departure rank. Once we arrive, I'll ask you to hop off, organise the tickets for your tour if you've not already ticketed, and then try and locate your coach that is doing the tour. We'll actually put signs in the front of the vehicles indicating what tour is going in what coach. And in actual fact, this coach, and most people on board, is going to the Gold Coast, covering Dreamworld, SeaWorld, Movie World, Surfers Paradise and the Gold Coast hinterland. So any one of those tours, this coach will be doing that. But we will ask you to unload, because we will collect 1:15 without any complications, I hope. But 9:05 we'll start to load for a 9:15 departure. So you might want to hop off, stretch your legs. So we're off.
The Sunshine Coast? Or the Gold Coast? No? That's good. We'll be going out to, we'll be doing a run around the city. Well, you've picked another lovely Brisbane day to do a tour. Every day's like this in Brisbane now, I might add. Well, up until about lunchtime, then it pours rain. We're just leaving Roma Street, as you no doubt are aware. This structure was built just prior to 1988, opened 1987, and it was built largely because of Expo occurring here in Brisbane. That railway line there on the left, the other railway line here in Brisbane, because it's where the New South Wales trains come in. And unfortunately, they run on a different gauge railway line. That's what you call good organisation. So they have to change trains when they get up here to Brisbane. Now, Roma Street was built to hopefully cope with the influx of people expected for the 1988 Expo. It is an excellent building, an excellent structure, and unfortunately they got a bit of a surprise with the numbers of people. They were expecting about 8 million to turn up to see Expo. Instead they got 18 million. So we did have a minor overcrowding problem at times. Expo was wonderful, but you had to be prepared to line up to see anything. But in most cases, it was worth the line-up. In most cases. But all in all, just prior to 88, $300 million was spent beautifying Brisbane to try and make it look the part. And they did a pretty good job. A lot of it has been left over, such as Roma Street, and will be in use for a long time to come. Some of it was destroyed, such as the Expo site. That's been virtually all pulled down. We'll see that a little bit later on. But Roma Street has definitely made things a lot easier for travellers. With the coach terminal, the railway station, shopping area, and also 5-star hotel. All under the one roof, basically. See the travel lodge there on the left. On the right-hand side, that vacant lot there, that was originally where the markets were held. These days it's just a centre by some a Japanese organisation. Coming up on the left hand side, lovely little park, there's a nice little waterfall usually functioning in there. It's usually very popular on weekends, just in there to the left. Lots of wedding photos are taken there. But Brisbane isn't located on the ocean, it is located on a river. It's quite some distance from the ocean. So it doesn't have any spectacular ocean views, but it does have a lot of lovely parkland. In the background with all those antennas on it, that's Mount Coot-tha. And the various television stations have their radio antennas transmitting antennas on Mount Coot-tha, being the highest point around Brisbane, although it is only about 700 feet. It's still the highest point. Albert Park on the left, right on the edge of the city. A little amphitheatre down there. Now Brisbane itself, well, it sort of started back in 1823. I say sort of started. That's when John Oxley made his way up the river and decided this wouldn't be a bad place to have a settlement. 1824, September of 1824 was when the first convicts were shipped here to start carving out a settlement. So nothing dates back prior to 1824, and in fact about the earliest building still existing here in Brisbane is about 1829. There's only 2 convict buildings left. All the rest have been removed. So the majority of the buildings, the old buildings that is, date to about the 1870s onwards. Now, many of the old buildings from that time have been preserved. They were built a little bit better than those first buildings. And we have a group here known as the National Trust. The National Trust is an Australian-wide organisation, and they make sure that anything worthy of preservation is in fact preserved. Not only buildings, but roads, various areas. If they've got any historic value, they look after them pretty well. Brisbane Grammar School on the left-hand side, a large structure there. Trying to keep with the flavour, the early building styles. A lot of people do like to build in the old style, even though quite often even though the homes look old, it's a little bit deceptive. Just people like to live in old surroundings, I think. You'll see some terrace homes coming up on the right hand side, which look rather authentic, but they look good. Terrace homes, and they said, "What, do they all live together?" I said, "I beg your pardon?" And she said, "Well, if they all live together, why don't they arrest them?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't follow you." She said, "Well, if all the terrorists are living together, they're not terrorists' homes, okay, they're terrace homes." There's a difference. Terrace just referring to the little veranda or locally on the banks of the Brisbane River. You see it used quite a lot there on the right. Unfortunately, it does weather. Well, it discolours quite badly, so it has to be cleaned from time to time to get the dark stains away from it. And even today, a lot of people specify the corrugated iron roofing in the construction of the new homes. Many people from overseas wonder why they use it. Why don't we use clay roofing tiles such as in most of the other capital cities? But the people here in Brisbane, because of the heat, tend to like that corrugated iron roof. Now, it does heat up fairly quickly during the day, but at night time it cools down just as fast, so that the homes tend to be very cool at night, which enables you to sleep a little bit more easily. Out in the suburbs, they are starting to use clay roofing tiles more and more, but even so, a lot of people still specify the corrugated iron. Up in the business district at the moment, one of the inner city business districts. There's a couple of areas around allocated for business. And up here it's known as Spring Hill, very simply because there used to be a spring or a watercourse located up here. The first couple of settlements down at Moreton Bay, which is about 20 kilometres towards the coast from here, it's where the first convict settlements were started. They weren't very successful simply because of lack of water. So eventually they did move up to where we, or around where we are at the moment. The name Brisbane itself comes from the Governor of New South Wales, who was in charge back in the early 1800s when Brisbane was founded. Sir Thomas Brisbane was his name, and they decided to call this settlement after him, as he was the man who started it all. Come in a big circle, that's Albert Park again on the right hand side. I'll just take you down and show you one of the early buildings here in Brisbane. Just in front of us, you'll see it coming up on the right hand side. We've got the old windmill up here. It was originally built back in 1829 using convict labour, and it was built as a windmill to crush the wheat, turn it into flour. Unfortunately, being such a large structure, it had enormous sails on it, and the sails were a little bit too heavy for the wind to push around, so it was only very occasionally, that's it coming up on the right. The sails have now been removed, but it was only very occasionally that there was enough wind to actually turn it. So it became known as was to harness the convicts to large poles and make them walk round and round in circles to crush the wheat. Tabernacle Church on the left hand side. You'll see a lot of churches around Brisbane. There's definitely no shortage of churches. They began building that in 1901 and they're still going. They have been building it in stages, but they're just building another stage at the moment. I don't know how many more stages to go. They're asking for public donation at the moment to try and help them complete it a little bit quicker. That's St John's Anglican Cathedral there to the left. See the building on the left here, how they've chopped away all the back of it, but they're actually preserving the front of it. The front of it is a beautiful old streetscape, so they'll just rebuild a building behind it and incorporate that streetscape into it. Opposite that streetscape is Customs House. You see the light on the roof, that's made from copper, Queensland copper. Customs House did serve as Parliament House for a very, very brief period prior to Parliament House's construction. Just how all the roots are hanging from up above. Eventually they'll extend down to ground level, just in there on the right hand side, and take root and grow it that way. They sort of grow in the opposite way to most trees. The way they occur, a bird or wind or something deposits a seed from the curtain fig into the top of a host tree. The curtain fig is a parasite tree. It then slowly strangles the tree as it gets larger and larger, as you can see, extending its roots to the ground. The curtain fig takes over and becomes a tree in its own right. Then left into Queen Street. You see the National Bank over on the right hand side. It's been classified by the National Trust, built late 1800s. And coming up on the left hand side, the GPO, and that was built around the same time. Couple of lovely things. That sandstone too, they can do anything with it. That was 19. Inside, that's built. The name came about, it was where General MacArthur, during World War II, when Australia served as his Pacific base for some time. Queen Street Mall is a very popular place during lunchtime, very quiet today. But shopping centres all the way up along. So very busy lunch. So it'll get a bit busier later on in the day too. Adelaide and so on. On the left hand side, Heritage Hotel. Board. The old port. They've been restored as well. On our left hand side, that's the Botanical Gardens. We'll have a short stop here, so you can have a look through that a little bit later on today. But you can have a... They originally started simply back in the early days. From time to time. I watch this, it's just coming up.
Parque Botânico.
Sì, sì.
Si c'est? ここから
Yes.
近くからいいね。じゃあ隣に行こう。Next. Nani?
Rich and famous, wealthy land minister of the country, solicitors, barristers, all that. Is over on the other side of the river. And the Treasury building, this large building coming up on the left, built 1885. And there's talk about using that. Currently doesn't have a casino, but they will be constructing one here or placing one here fairly shortly, and some talk that possibly they'll stick it in there. We'll just duck across the river. It's about 100 kilometres north or 100 kilometres south, either the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast. It's located on a large bay. Brisbane itself. Northern Bay. Over on the left-hand side, that's where Expo was located. It's currently just known as redevelopment. And on the right, museum and the art. Well, we don't really have slum areas, but it was definitely decided to knock it all down. And unfortunately it did create quite a few homeless people because they could no longer afford to live there. And it was one of the lower priced areas to live. Through this afternoon. This is the last road bridge. You can see the rail bridge. It's up there to the left, but this is the last road. Roma Street's just down to the right again. We're coming loop. Hand side. Those chimneys belching. Another very popular beer is known as Powers. And 4X has been coming up on the road. Some more lovely old terrace homes here on the left-hand side. Well aware that entrance fees in its simplest form, it consists only of flour and water, and it, as long as it's eaten hot, it's quite nice, but because there's no yeast in that's $2. They also have a wonderful where they have trained. It's hard to believe. I found a way that you could but they've trained sheep. They've trained I didn't know that them looking quite the way they are out there. To use that fleece to make a jumper or a sweater, pullover, whatever you like to call them, and spinning the wool. So it's quite an interesting display. You don't wish to see the show or have morning tea. Well, I'm sure if you see the show, you'll enjoy it. Something a little bit unusual.
Imakawa